and we talked about some teams at the start today, and I want to check in kind of where we were at with certain teams. We've been tough on the Central this year. The AL Central, aka the AL Mid. It's literally Middle America, and the performance has been mid. We've been tough on the White Sox. We just hit them in the open. We didn't even talk about it, and the White Sox got a little shrapnel.
That's true.
And that's just kind of how it's been this year. And then the news today, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Artie Moreno, is looking to potentially sell the team. Big headlines there. We'll see what goes on with that, but that is big news in the sport. And the Angels are the other team that kind of gets the most shrapnel from this show and baseball fans. It's easy to say, and it's kind of right to say, right? The Angels, I think they've missed 7 straight postseasons. We've talked ad nauseum about Trout and Ohtani and how can you have the 2 most talented players and nothing else around them. As we check in, and Jim, you mentioned the standings again and, hesitant to will things shuffle again, and we'll see what happens. I mean, this time last year with less games to play, the Cincinnati Reds were still in the playoffs. I believe the San Diego Padres were still in the playoffs, and they faded out. So, there's a chance that we're still going to get a shakeup in this baseball season. And the one team, the Boston Red Sox, who they had their trade deadline. They did a reshuffle of sorts. They ended up with Hosmer. They snagged Tommy Pham, yet they traded away Vasquez. They're floating around there 6 games back of the wild card. But more importantly, there's 3 teams in front of them. So that is a tall, daunting task. They've been done in the East for a while. They're 2 games below 500. They would have to jump. The White Sox, I aforementioned, are 2 games ahead of them. The Minnesota Twins are above them. And the Baltimore Orioles. So the Boston Red Sox, we've mentioned it, and we've come and gone on it, but they are sitting in a pretty bad spot. A pretty bad spot. And, Jim, you've mentioned it a few times. Usually when Boston collapses, it's a significant collapse. We've seen that in a couple years. But I want to go back since 2018. They win the World Series. Awesome year. 108 wins. Dominant force in the playoffs. They rolled. And, that was the Dombrowski effect, and there's a little after effect of that, right? And that's the whole thing with Dombrowski. If you're going to sell out, there's going to be a ripple effect to that. In 2019, we saw the start of that ripple effect. They went 84-78. They had the highest payroll in baseball, $222 million, and they did not make the playoffs. 2022 became a really weird year really quick, right? No Cora. Renicky was in there looking like the ghost of Hagerstown, basically running that team. They had the 4th highest payroll.
Rude.
They had the 4th. Taking that from you. They had the 4th.
Ghost of Hagerstown's like an awesome guy.
So is Ron Renicky. He's a baseball hero.
He was a different kind of ghost. He was like a bad vibes ghost.
Different vibes ghost. The Boston Red Sox had the 4th highest payroll of the top 5 teams with the highest payroll. They did not make the playoffs. Sure, 2020 was a weird year. Everybody basically got invited to the dance, but not the 4th highest payroll Red Sox. So following up next year, the Red Sox kind of sneak up on us. They host that wild card game. They do have a nice run to the CS, which kind of didn't feel expected that year. They were 6th in payroll, but, they end up going to CS. That's a lot of teams. Only 2 teams from each league is going to get there. A nice year for Boston. And now here they are, 6th in payroll again. And I was just going through how many Talkin' Baseball episodes we said, give Heim some time. And, we're year 2.5, year 3-ish of Heim. And the Boston Red Sox are 5th in the American League East. The Orioles have passed them this year. They just played in Williamsport, and the Orioles, again, were the better team. I don't know. The questions this year around Boston, are they going to re-sign Devers or Bogarts? That hasn't happened. And we're talking about a 5th-place Red Sox team that now, 3 times in 4 years, are going to have a top 6 payroll, and it's looking like they're going to miss the playoffs. And if I'm a Red Sox fan, and I know they've been hot about not having Bogarts or Devers extended, I'd be hot about pretty much everything involved. It's this is a proud franchise. This is a championship franchise, especially the last 20 years, and we're entering a really interesting spot here. So that kind of caught my attention today when I dig through, and I was like, what is a topic we should talk about? Because the White Sox are right behind them, 7th in payroll, but they still have a shot to win their division if they can find it in the next month and a half. And yeah, the Angels, who have been kind of a punching bag of this show in baseball for the last little while, they're 10th, and they've kind of fluctuated around there for years. But if you're the Boston Red Sox, man, I don't know. It could be a very interesting offseason this year, and I don't know what you do.
Yeah. I think the butter knifing out like 18 is the big thing here. I mean, they won the World Series in 18. You get a lot of time after that. I think it negates kind of everything. Like, you win the World Series, you get a big buffer period. Like, I'd much rather the Red Sox 10-year history than the Yankees. They've had a similar budget. They got 2 World Series in the last decade.
And the 2 years before 18, 16 and 17, they won the AL East. So I think this is more of a shot at the Heim time,
which is supposed to be rebuilding. Like, last year was a surprise. This year they have contracts coming off the books. Like, this was the time period that they've been eyeing. If last year goes according to like what they thought and prepped for it, I don't think we're like upset or shocked.
Well, are they rebuilding?
Well, they were waiting for Bogarts to come up, Dever or JD to come off, like Evaldi to come off. Like, it's all these Sale comes, like a lot of contracts end after this year.
Yeah, I think this
offseason was the offseason where it was like, okay, let's see what's going on, because a lot of money gets shed.
And they go get Trevor Story in anticipation of this offseason. They sign him long term. So, like, I think we're going to have to see what Heim does here. Are we going to go out? I think this is what I believe will happen. They'll get some marquee names this offseason. They have to make a few decisions. I think Bogarts he's gone. And then make a decision on Devers. And then they'll see there's a big, huge free agent class.
I think like 100 plus comes off the books this year for them.
Yeah. So they could either go make the splash this year, which I imagine they will do something. And then I still believe in Heim and give Heim time. I think last year kind of happened randomly for them. Don't you think?
Yeah, but yes.
Well, that almost makes it a little worse if we're calling their ALCS trip random and not a credit to their success. Like, and Trev, I think I have to. The free agent pool next year is not a flashy one. I think the biggest name is Trey Turner, which if they make a move on him, but we're also talking about them losing Bogarts and they lost Betts, and you're talking about them losing a lot of veteran talent. That
isn't Aaron Judge on the market this year?
Aaron Judge will be there. Yeah. So go get Judge.
So why didn't you mention him as the biggest one?
Well, he's already with the Mets in my head, Trev, after winning the World Series this year. So
I think Trey Turner would fit in perfectly with the Red Sox. I mean, and you think about where that goes, Trevor Story, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, and then they still have more. So
you have them re-signing Bogarts and Trey Turner?
I mean, Devers. I said Devers. I meant Devers.
Well, as you mentioned the names coming off the books, Nate Eovaldi's been very good for them this year. Xander Bogaerts has been really good for them this year. So I don't know if I put that in as part of the solution as we're watching the Orioles pass them. You know, the Blue Jays have their young core together. The Yanks have dominated the division this year outside of their lackluster recency. And then the Rays on the opposite side of the spectrum, you know, going through the recent years and their payrolls and how good they've been, it is insane. I know we mention it in passing in every episode. We say Rays going to raise, but the fact that they are nearly a bottom 5 payroll for the past 5 years now and have been in the playoffs, what they're doing is, I mean, it's so impressive. I know it frustrated Jim when every team tried to copy the Rays and do their version of it. But what the Rays do is very impressive. That I don't know. I mean, if you're Boston, it's tough to picture them coming into next year gung-ho unless they sign Judge, Turner, and 3 starting pitchers, which I don't think that's Heim's formula.
I don't think we fully know yet, because I think we need the money to come off the books, and then it's his turn to start mixing the witch's brew. So like we'll wait and see. But I don't know. I mean, they've won a World Series recently, so I don't think Red Sox fans are too upset.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's 3 in our office today that are pretty not happy. And I think next year, think about what we're saying. The Red Sox have the chance to finish last place this year. And they have the chance to finish, I don't know, 4th or 5th next year, depending on how their free agency goes. I don't know how much time Hyman's going to get because that's a town that does demand winning. I mean, look how quick they gave Dombro the hook. So I don't know. I think if you're a Red Sox fan, this season hasn't been what you wanted. And pending the offseason, which, hey, Red Sox, hope you make some massive moves. We just talked about you signing 2 awesome free agents and hopefully some pitching around that I think there's going to be some other teams in the mix for those guys. And I don't know. I don't know.
Did their farm improve?
They're the 11th. They just updated the farm system rankings. They're 11th in that regard, which is like the highest they've been since 2016. They have a lot of their higher.
That's a lot of like was the problems this year. They didn't have any depth. They had to go to their AAA roster, and it was like non-prospect, no potential, like guys, like not like he's here. It was like hopefully this plugs the hole a little bit.
Marcelo Meyer is their top ranked prospect. He's 8th overall in baseball. He actually is a shortstop, so maybe that does take them away from signing a Turner to a long-term deal. Or maybe they give him a 3-year. I don't know what they would do with that. But I think what you're referencing or what Red Sox fans will be feeling now is like the hate of uncertainty. And I think maybe as a franchise like the Red Sox, you shouldn't have too many years of uncertainty. And yeah, it's just we'll have to see what goes on in this offseason and then how it transpires. But I think Heim is not on a short leash right now. I wouldn't say that.
I'm interested to see because I know Marcelo Meyer, his projected ETA, 2025. Casas, he's the one that next year, I know there's a lot of hope for him, and they called up Bello this year, Bello, if he can be a good young pitcher for them, that would obviously be important. But I don't know. That's a proud sports town. I love the Commonwealth, and I think we might be on a tipping point. That think about what we just said. The solution is to sign Aaron Judge and Trey Turner. If the Sox do that, awesome. But
that's not what we said.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not
what we said.
Okay. Yeah. Then what did you say is the solution for next year's Red Sox?
We didn't. We said that's when it we'll wait and see what Heim does, but I don't think the plan was to be a winning team last year nor this year. I think they're looked at it as when all these come off the books, let's prep. So the farm system gets better, work up guys so you can make some trades in the offseason and then sign guys, but it'll start happening then is what I think.
And I agree. And I think they could make a splash in free agency this year if they want someone that they could see with their team long term that matches up more with their quote unquote window, I guess. But I'm on the other side too, where I just said, I don't think a franchise like this should have too many years of uncertainty. I don't think it should happen.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, we're talking 3 out of 4 now, and depending what does happen next year for a really proud sports franchise that's also paying a lot of money. I don't know if I know a World Series ring can cover up a lot, but 2018 will be 5 years ago next year. Something like that.
I mean, how many teams can say that though, Jake? I mean, they got 2 in the last 10, 5 in the last 15. They got some stuff to fall back on.
Well, I will circle up with you guys this time next year, and we'll see where the Boston Red Sox are.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to be good next year, so I don't know why you keep saying you're going to circle up with us this time next year.
I actually called them being mid this year. I said they're going to be 500 club.
You're kind of missing the point of my topic, so I'll kick it to you guys.
Is it your topic? The Red Sox stink?
That the franchise is kind of in a worse spot than I think you guys are leading on. Yes.
I like that. I like it.
Yeah,
it could be worse.
I think they're rebuilding, retooling. When Theo went to the Cubs, he said 5 years. When Jeter went to the Marlins, he said 5 years. We're in year 2.5. So I think that's the plan.
The
when you hire a young
Marlins
GM.
had very different payrolls and standards than the Boston Red Sox.
Of course, but I'm saying that new GMs usually say it's a 5-year window.
Well, we will see.